How Costly Is Protectionism by www.forexconspiracyreport.com. Taxing imports to protect growing American manufacturing goes back to the Founding Fathers. So President-elect Trump's plan to tax imports by 35% or 45% is nothing new. In fact, Congress chose to protect the American economy in the early 1930s with the Smoot Hawley Tariff Act, which economists say was the real cause, not the market crash, of the Great Depression. The American of 1791 was of little concern to Europe and not an economic threat. America of the 1930s had trading partners across the globe. The protectionism suggested by Mr. Trump is more likely to cause a global trade war similar to the 1930s than the shrug and indifference by Europe in the 18th century. But just how costly is protectionism? The Atlantic considers Trump's protectionist economic plan. The American economy today is far different from Hamilton's America, which was engaged in a trade war with Britain. Back then, the United States was trying to free itself from a colonial economic relationship with the British monarchy, in which British industries wanted to exploit America's raw materials untaxed. The Founding Fathers wanted to encourage their own emerging manufacturing industry, and raising import tariffs provided a way to finance the new government. So the new Congress approved Hamilton's recommendation to raise taxes on all manufactured steel, iron, and textile imports. The American economy was still small enough that it could grow by focusing inward. The American economy today is a global one, and the U.S. companies have had to expand production and their consumer base across the world to keep growing. Even Alexander Hamilton cautioned against raising tariffs too far because it would just raise prices for consumers by eliminating competition. Excessive protectionism will raise the cost of goods to American consumers, reduce sales of American products abroad, drive the American economy into recession, and force down the value of the U.S. dollar. Losing a trade war. Not all policy initiatives by U.S. presidents work out that well. Fortune writes that America would lose a trade war with China. If Trump were to impose the 35% to 45% tariffs that he talked about in his campaign, the situation could evolve quickly into a total rupture. But there are a number of intermediate stages that might be painful to both the Chinese and to American companies, but would still leave open trade in certain areas that both sides consider critical. What is certain is that a complete rupture would hurt American companies and China as well, though America will likely be the bigger loser. A huge issue here is sorting through the bluff and bluster of the president-elect to find the policies that the government will eventually pursue. But still, these are uncharted waters. The danger is in thinking that talking tough to China will produce positive results. It won't. From Beijing's perspective, international trade takes a second seat to internal politics. Chinese President Xi Jinping's top priority is to maintain political stability. He cannot lose face in his relations with a new administration in Washington and hope to retain power at home. He especially cannot deal with an American president who the Chinese feel fails to show proper respect for China itself. And now that China has emerged as the world's second most powerful economy, he really doesn't have to. From a rollback of the One China policy to confrontation in the South China Sea to a rupture of trade with China, there are lots of causes for concern. One concern, however, is less. China is hurting as money flows out of the country. They are eating up their foreign currency reserves. The threat of dumping their U.S. treasuries on the market is less and less likely. For more insights and useful information about Forex markets and trading, visit www.forexconspiracyreport.com.